Hi, this is Ricky J. Hughes, and this is my Career Wanderings presentation. After hitting the spacebar, it'll bring up my second slide, which has a lot of logos from different companies that I've had the privilege of working for. I've gotten a chance to work at O'Reilly's Auto Parts, Pizza Hut, Johnson Controls, and now I currently work at Intrust, but also worked at Loan Max, Car Title Loans before that. I also spent some time at Walmart, was fortunate enough to be a coach at TMP, Thomas More Prep Marion at Hays, Kansas, and also was privileged enough to be a football player for Butler County as well as for Hays State. I think it was important for me to show these visuals, especially in my presentation, because I learned a lot from each place that I had the privilege of working at. At O'Reilly's Auto Parts, I understood that you may not always be treated the best, and you have to do what is best for you, especially when it comes to your career. You can't feel bad whenever you have to move on to another position and something that's going to be better for you. And that's why I actually went from O'Reilly's Parts to Intersys. But the first job I ever had was at Pizza Hut. It taught me the value of hard work, and I was just a high school student at the time, so it being my first job, I was especially nervous. But I think that job was what really instilled the confidence in me to be able to do anything, because I'd been so used to just being an athlete and a good student that I'd never been out in the working world, and I performed well there, and I left, and I did miss it for a while. And whenever I still see Pizza Huts, I kind of smile because I know I spent some time there, and things have changed a lot since the time that I'd worked there, but it was still a pretty cool experience to be a part of. Whenever I was done working there, I didn't work for a couple of years because I had went on to college to become a college football player at Butler County Community College. And after spending 2 seasons there as a student athlete, I spent the summer in Wichita working at Johnson Controls, where I worked on the assembly line. Had never been on the assembly line before, and it was pretty cool, just seeing how everything came together to make units that we see in houses every day. We made these air conditioning units, and I got to be at the front of the line with two other crew members, and we were responsible for making the shells of what would become the AC units that would be put in trailer homes and other mobile homes. It was pretty cool because once we got really good at it and got a good team chemistry, that we were able actually to take on more roles than what we were supposed to for our actual portion of the line. We took great pride in what we did, and I was the youngest one there, and I even considered staying there forever. And but I was convinced to go back to school by some members of the crew that I worked on, and I'm glad that I did that. And so I went back to Hays. Once I got back to Hays, I performed in my junior season and ended up picking up 2 jobs. One of them was O'Reilly's, and then the other one was at Walmart, where I worked in the parking lot for about a month gathering carts before I transferred over to the tire and lube. And it was really hard, especially working outside in those super hot days. But even once I moved over to the tire and lube, that it was still pretty hot in there. It was like cooking in an oven, and so that was pretty tough. But those were both hard jobs, and you learn that, you know, you're going to have to do some things that you don't want to, especially if you're going to make a living. And I did it during the off season, and during that fall, I ended up not working at Walmart anymore because I had to play football. But O'Reilly's kept me on, and I ended up working there for 2 years. And so once I was done at O'Reilly's, I moved over to Intersys, where I worked at on another assembly line doing plate cleaning, which were being cleaned for battery units that are used to power cell towers. And I did that for 9 months while I coached at TMP, and coached at TMP for 3 seasons. I learned a lot, especially at TMP, because I coached with some older guys, and they taught me a lot about being mature, being responsible, being accountable for other people and not just myself, which really applies to a lot of the work I do today as an assistant manager at Intrust, because I have to understand that everybody's not going to perform like me or the way that I want them to, but as long as they're doing the best that they can, that's okay. After leaving TMP, I went to work at Loan Max, Car Title Loans, and these are short-term loans, and there's kind of a moral dilemma when it comes to those things because of the high interest rates. And It was a really tough job for me, but I worked there for 2 years and I became so good at it that I ended up being a person that would transfer to other locations and I would train the managers that would be taking over that branch. But I ended up commuting to Salina twice a week as well as managing my own branch in Hayes and eventually took over the branch in Manhattan. Once I was in Manhattan, I'd worked there for several months and realized that I wanted to do something a lot better, which, if you hit space, takes you to my third slide that tells you where I'm at now, which, like I stated earlier, is with Intrust as an assistant branch manager of 3 locations. Part of my duties as a assistant branch manager are to make sure that my boss is kept in line and that he does what he's supposed to, as well as making sure that all my bankers and tellers are properly trained. I also make the schedule, I also make sure that I am on top of my own training. Also, if there are any requests for help at other branches, I make sure that I take care of that as well. Other than that, I make sure that I take care of consumer banking needs such as loans, credit cards, um, accounts, and as well as businesses doing accounts and merchant referrals as well, and also debit cards. And that's currently where I am, and where I plan on going is to small business banker position with Intrust. That's going to be a new position that we've created this year. We should have it posted here within a month or so. And what we're going to do is really cater to the needs of the small businesses in Wichita. We do business with over 3,000 small businesses here alone, and we are looking to increase our relationships with them, and hopefully that can grow and expand out into our regional markets. Where I'd like to go is to eventually become a senior commercial relationship manager, and I'd like to still stick with small businesses as well and do that for the remainder of my career if I'm allowed to. How I plan on getting there is to continue to perform well with Intrust and receive a promotion to the small business banker position and continue to grow from there. I plan on performing well enough there that I get promoted to becoming the manager of the small business bankers here in Wichita and continue to go from there until I eventually reach the goal of becoming a commercial relationship manager. And so that's my career wanderings presentation. Thank you.